As the devil himself in the latest film by British director Terry Gilliam, the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus follows the title character, played by Christopher Plummer, as he and his unusual theater troupe travel around offering audiences a chance to be taken through a magic mirror to explore their imaginations. But Dr. Parnassus has a dark secret and a haunting nemesis in his gambling opponent, Mr. Nick, a.k.a. Satan, played with typically eccentric charm by Tom Waits. The fantastical film was shot in Vancouver, and despite the tragic death of one of its central actors, Heath Ledger, was completed. It's due out in theaters in December and is currently making the early festival rounds. This weekend, the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus returns to its home base of Vancouver, where it screens tonight and Sunday at the city's International Film Festival. Now, a couple of weeks ago, the film had a private screening at Toronto's Film Festival, and that's where I met up with actor and musician Tom Waits. Now, let me give you a little context for what you're about to hear. First of all, he doesn't do interviews. It seems like a bit of a theme this week on Q. It's a very rare occasion that he does an interview. He was told about our show and agreed to do a radio exclusive with us here, Q, on CBC Radio 1. And we said that it was going to be around 15 minutes. Now, I have to say that oftentimes when you meet these people, they can be disappointing. They don't turn out to be who you want them to be. I've been a Tom Waits fan for many, many years, got the whole album collection. When he came into the room, he was everything that you would want Tom Waits to be. He had the hat on. He was hunched over. How you doing? He just he was exactly what you would expect Tom Waits to be, including very, very funny. And even though we had 15 minutes, we spent 10 minutes before the interview jabbering on about things, including the fact that we share a common... I'd heard that his favorite scene in a movie is Julie Christie in Heaven Can Wait, and a final scene, and he had quoted back what in an interview that he'd done, actually with himself, he had quoted back a line from Julie Christie in Heaven Can Wait, the Warren Beatty movie from the late 70s, as his favorite movie. That happens to be one of my favorite movies, so we started talking about that. And then he started talking about scenes from other movies that are his favorites. This is before the interview is taking place. So we ended up rolling tape towards the end of this conversation. So you will hear me actually start the formal part of the interview about a minute in. But before that, it's Tom Waits riffing on the 1958 Orson Welles classic, Touch of Evil, with Marlene Dietrich. Now, this is a film that I have not seen and felt kind of embarrassed when he was going on about it. But I will definitely check it out after hearing Tom Waits talk about it. So we start with Tom Waits talking about this film, and then a very quirky, interesting, funny chat with Tom Waits. Take it away.
He was some kind of man. That was Marlene Dietrich, talking about Orson Welles.
Did she have the growl in her voice? That was some kind of man.
No, that's me doing her. He was some kind of man. That was a clanky little piano that came up, It was like that score was very bizarre. It sounded like a piano that had been out in the rain. I dug it. I'll tell you the other scene I really liked in that movie. Dennis Weaver holding onto that tree. Remember?
I don't really remember the movie.
He was bigger than the tree. Dennis Weaver, who was in Gunsmoke, he played Chester. Most of the people know him from television, but he did films also. And they McLeod, he was like the cop on the horse in New York City. Jesus, a horse. And it was a scene where he's holding onto a tree, and he's a night clerk at the motel, and they keep trying to get information out of him, and he says, "I'm just the night man. I don't know nothing. I'm just the night man."
And then does she say that to him at the end? You're just some kind of man.
Move forward to the end, and he was some kind of man. But she's not referring to Dennis Weaver. She's referring to Orson Welles.
Trying to put it all together. I feel like a naive that I
can't really tell you the whole story. We don't have time. Yeah. But you should see the movie.
Tom Waits, it's a great pleasure to see you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
You and Terry Gilliam worked together on The Fisher King. How did you end up reuniting for Dr. Parnassus? What's the story, Tom Waits?
Well, you're being generous. I had a very small little part where I sat in a wheelchair and said, I don't know what did I say. Jimmy Nichols, something about Jimmy Nichols and people pissing on bookstores, and I just had some gibberish to say, and but it was fun. I got to meet Terry, and it was a big thrill for me. And it was in New York. So how did I go from that to working on a bigger picture, or a bigger for me because I'm bigger in it? I don't know. In the meantime, we'd done an interview. We had a conversation on the phone, an intercontinental, under the Atlantic, long distance, where, everybody's voice is a little smaller, and you have to yell. That's a long time.
You don't really have to yell. That's my parents still yell, but you
still yell because I'm probably old enough to be your father, and all of us yell on long distance. Knock it off! I'm on long distance. And then you go back to your call. But so we did an interview and it was hilarious. I remember he had misunderstood a line in the song, and the line in the song was, in a Portuguese saloon, a fly is circling around the room. And he thought, and so he said, what about that line about on the porch where the geese salute? And I said, gee, I don't know, but it's an even better line. Can I have that line? On the porch, the geese salute.
It's provocative and somewhat Canadian. That's our Canada geese. That's our pride.
Oh, okay. All right.
The geese salute. Maybe he's referring to this country.
I'm sure that's where he was going with it. But so we had a big laugh over that. Mishearing things. I'm good at misunderstandings. When one occurs to me, I always seize on it.
Excuse me while I kiss this guy.
Exactly. Or there's a bathroom on the right. That was my wife's. Creedence Clearwater. There's a bathroom on the right.
Well, your interpretation of that, see, as the story goes, as I know it, he said, I've got a role, I got a potential part for you. He said, I'm in, without even reading the script or anything.
I got a role for you. That's what he said. And I said, I'm in, that's it. I'll do anything. I'll carry water. I'll chop wood. I'll build a fire.
Your interpretation of the devil for this film, it's sort of a sideshow, part sideshow Carnival Barker, vaudevillian character, has a gambling streak. Kind of reminds me a bit of Tom Waits. I mean, in terms of a character.
It's just bizarre. How do you play the devil? Nobody can play the devil, And believe me, the devil does not wear a bowler hat and have a pencil-thin mustache. I've never seen him in person, but I know that much to know that,
You have a predilection for devilish things, right? I mean, I remember the video for I Don't Want to Grow Up, and you're on a tricycle and you're wearing devil horns with a cigar, and the Black Rider has a Faustian element to it, involving the devil. I mean, you like devilish things.
I think I'm just trying to piss off my mom. I mean, really.
The lengths you'll go to.
Well, we all go to great lengths to piss off our moms, don't we? I mean, that's why I'm here, to piss off my mom.
Your mom would be disappointed in you playing the...
Really not the word. Disappointed. Mortified is probably closer to it.
What do you like about playing the devil?
I loved working with Christopher Plummer. That was really the best part for me because I had a lot of scenes with him, and you play better pool when you're playing pool with someone who's better. And he's a killer, man. He's just a killer. Here's a guy who made a deal with the devil 1,000 years ago because he wanted to live forever, and then he fell in love, and all of a sudden he wants to be mortal again. And it comes at a price. When you change the deal, try changing the deal on any contract. Try changing the deal with Gilliam. Once you've agreed to a certain fee, to go back and then try to say, Terry, I have car payments, I have children, He's tough. He's really tough.
Just keeps on pushing. How about this? Every character who goes through the mirror into the Imaginarium, also known as the Imaginatorium by some, steps into a different fantasy world that reflect personal values and aspirations. If Tom Waits, not Mr. Nick, Tom Waits, were to enter the Doctor's Imaginarium, what would he see?
Oh, geez. You mean what are those? What do those sides of myself look like? That's a really good question, but I really don't know the answer. If I went through the mirror, I can't even begin to. Well, we're none of us are as we seem. None of us are as we present ourselves. We all have shadows, and the shadow of a shadow is really the light, isn't it? A shadow's shadow is the light. So I probably, in my shadow is probably I don't know what it is, but
a shadow's shadow is the light. I'm trying to get my head around that.
The light has a shadow. That's a shadow. Then the shadow's shadow would be the light. Shadow, light. You can't go anywhere without your shadow. Look, my shadow's right there on your knee.
What is Tom Waits' vision of hell?
There's probably no place to sit down. That's the hard part.
Hard on the legs.
It's like that joke about heaven and hell. The guy gets to the gate, and they say, well, he shows him the one room, and he shows him the other. And in this part of hell, guys are just standing around, up to their waist in this is radio, right?
Yeah, it's okay.
All right. They're up to their waist in sewage, and they're smoking cigarettes. And he goes, that's hell? And he goes, that's not so bad. It's a lot, not even half as bad as I thought it was going to be. I'll take that. Give me that, And the guy says, okay. Cigarette break's over. Everybody back on their heads.
Yeah. That's dark. That's hellish humor, Tom Waits. Okay, let me sort of work towards an ending here. You've been a multimedia artist, theater, film, music. You're known for telling stories, embodying a whole range of colorful characters. Do you see a continuum between acting and all of your other creative pursuits?
Well, I guess you'd like to think that acting is being in a film is like. Well, I guess you'd have to say that a record is a movie for the ears, right? And so, in a way, there's always a parallel that exists. Movies were. Well, I was sitting around a fire the other night, and I looked into the fire, and I said, "The original cinema. We're at the cinema," and you can look in there and see the little fairies going in, through the woods and all that. It's really just storytelling, so that's really not going to change, except as it changes technologically, it'll change. But stories themselves and the importance that stories have to us will always be with us. They cover a multitude of sins. Thank God for stories. None of us tell the truth, or we'd all be dead. So.
But don't some people capitalize on the idea that they do tell the truth? Isn't virtuous on?
There's no such thing as the truth. The word truth should always have an S at the end of it, because there's so many of them. Two guys watching the same thing. The blind man describing the elephant.
You said that Terry Gilliam is a man that you'd want to be in a boat with at the end of the world. Why?
I don't know. He just looks like he'll know which way to go. He direct. If you go to dinner with him, he starts directing people. You can't even sit where you want to sit. He'll say, no, you're sitting here, and Christopher, you're over here, and Kathleen, you're no, come over here by me, and before you know it, everybody's sitting somewhere else, and then he sits down, and then he allows it to continue. But not until he's had his hand on it. He's doing what he was designed to do, which is, pushing people around.
You would defer to a control freak in the boat. You would happily let him take control.
Well, I guess there would be a discussion at some point, but I trust him. Yeah, I know, and I. So what do you say about that? When we may be going over the falls, but we'll be laughing. So I even learned how to do email, so I could write him, and I didn't even know which end of it to turn on first, and I figured it out though, so I could write him these weird little cryptic notes every now and then, and
rather than yell on the phone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Tom Waits, it's a great pleasure. I know you've got a live record out that a lot of people are excited about coming in the fall, and
right. Okay, Glitter and Doom. That's the title. I really feel like a huckster. Yeah, it's coming out at Thanksgiving. So it's a good one. A lot of applause, followed by a song. And after the song, there's more applause. And then there's a song. And it goes like that all the way through.
Good pleasure to talk to you, sir.
Nice talking to you, too.